Good morning. It is the 29th of September, 2023. We're doing the New York Times. As usual, David Leonhardt is our propagandist. We are looking at worrisome turnabout in the global battle against mosquitoes and covering democracy, migration, and Beyonce. Beyonce, really? Progress no more. When my colleague Stephanie Nolan began working on this article earlier this year about new technologies to fight mosquito borne diseases, she assumed she would be writing a story of continued progress. For much of the past 2 decades, those diseases have been receding thanks to mosquito nets, insecticides, and billions of dollars of funding from governments and philanthropists. Between 2000 and 2019, for example, global malaria deaths fell more than a third. But it took only a couple of calls to realize that there was way more going on in the world of mosquitoes than I had realized, Stephanie told me this week. I was a bit taken aback as global health reporter who has been writing about malaria for 25 years to realize that the common public narrative of a straightforward trajectory of progress against the disease is inaccurate. Over the past year, she has traveled to 6 countries, studied data, waded through swamps in Kenya, crawled into ghost sheds in Ethiopia, and learned how to suck a mosquito into a glass vial as researchers do so they can study it alive. The result is a series of alarming stories that the Times published this morning. The mosquito already kills more people every year than any other creature does, and the toll is rising. Malaria deaths rose 8% between 2019 and 2021, the first increase in decades. Okay, just to be clear here. So we're talking about global deaths in a world of 7 billion people. 627,000 die of malaria. Now, look, I don't want anyone to die unnecessarily. I want every human to live a nice, long, happy life. But at the same time, we do have to recognize that life is not perfect. The world is not perfect. And 627,000 deaths, which, as you can see, is well below the peak in 2000. And if we were to go back before, you'd see that's really high. I mean, this is actually a low number and it's just slightly ticking up. So we found a floor is what happened, and now we're going to bounce around on this floor. This is fear porn at this point. And this is justification for them introducing genetically modified mosquitoes, which is not going to work out as well as we think. It's probably going to have some unintended consequences, probably end up making things worse. 2 big causes. The toll is rising for 2 main reasons. First, mosquitoes have evolved to elude strategies that were once working against them. The increasing use of bed nets has led to a decline in the population of mosquitoes that tend to live indoors, but mosquitoes that thrive outdoors have increased in number, and bed nets can't fight them so easily. Mosquitoes have evolved to become more resistant to current insecticides. See that? Those statements are without any evidence to back them up. That's just speculation. Second, oh God, climate change, which is not. So here's just lies. Has expanded the areas where the weather is warm enough for the most dangerous species of mosquitoes, those that carry deadly diseases, to thrive. Dengue, which is used to be a purely tropical disease, has moved into Florida and France. This past summer, a small number of malaria cases spread into Texas, Florida, and Maryland, the first local transmissions of the U.S. disease in 20 years. Okay, again, this is from people bringing over the insects on boats and planes. It's not because it's warmer. The mosquitoes aren't flying across the ocean. It seems as though mosquitoes are winning. Eric Akomo, a mosquito fighting scientist in Kenya, told Stephanie, one problem many experts believe is that the World Health Organization and other regulators are slow to approve new insecticides and other preventative measures. These agencies typically wait for years of evidence to accumulate before approving new mitigation strategies, but people are dying in the meantime. The situation reminds me of the CDC's struggle to provide timely, clear help during the corona pandemic, which they didn't do. They lied. Be it with masks, they lied. Tests, they lied. Or behavioral guidance, they lied. So those were just lies. Public health crises don't operate in the same timetable as academic journals. You can read Stephanie's overview here, as well as the second story about new malaria-carrying mosquitoes that's threatening some of Africa's largest cities. So again, this is propaganda. Just fear porn. That's it. Biden's democracy speech. Well, we live in a republic, so that's an abhorrent concept. President Biden accused Donald Trump and other MAGA extremists of threatening the Constitution. So yeah, ultra divisive statement from the supposedly unifying president. Yeah, pathetic. The speech in Arizona was his most blistering recent attack on Trump. No, he's been calling every single person that supports Trump's, all of his political opponents, extremists for a couple years now. They have lied repeatedly about that and are fomenting a civil war. Democracies don't have to die at the end of a rifle, Biden said. Well, we're not a democracy, we're a republic. They can die when people are silent, when they fail to stand up or condemn threats to democracy. We live in a republic, so there is no threat to our republic. The threat to our republic is you, Mr. Biden, polarizing people and saying that they're extremists. Biden also criticized Republicans for not rebuking Trump's recent suggestion that an Army general who clashed with him deserved the death penalty. I don't know the nature, the context of that. So, if he's talking about Milley committed treason by selling us out to China and warning, telling China that he would tell them about our moves. That's treason, and the penalty for treason is death. So that's probably where that's coming from, and that's in the Constitution. So I don't support that. I don't encourage that. I don't support the death penalty, but that's just where that comes from. Biden announced federal funding for a library honoring John McCain, the late senator. He had told the story of introducing McCain to his future wife, Cindy, who was there. McCain is a scumbag, horrible politician, warmonger. He shouldn't be honored. Trump cases. Trump's civil fraud trial may begin as soon as Monday after a New York appeals court rejected his bid for delay. He could lose control of Trump Tower and other properties. See which ones are at risk. I doubt that. That summary judgment is one of the most abhorrent ever. A judge just deciding, oh, you know what? I'm going to rule in a massive case in an unprecedented style with a novel legal theory. I'm just going to rule summarily. Yeah, that's going to work. In Trump's Georgia racketeering case over election interference, his lawyer wrote that he would not seek a transfer to federal court. And Trump's team has paid the legal bills for people caught up in his prosecutions. The money is running low. That's the whole point of this. It's just to bleed Trump dry and prevent him from being able to run. It's political lawfare, and it's the lowest the Democrats have done yet. But don't worry, they'll go lower. Michelle Obama's famous statement of "they go as low as possible." That's what she meant. When they go high, high, we go low. That's what she really meant to say. Government shutdown as deadline looms. Speaker Kevin McCarthy is trying to turn a fight over federal spending into a battle over Biden's handling of the border. Biden's strategy: avoid a shutdown if possible. If not, make sure Americans know where to place the blame. Yeah, the blame is on the Democrats. It is the extremist, radical Democrats that are preventing our government from funding by refusing to negotiate in any way, shape, or form with the ruling majority in the House, which controls the purse strings. And now the Democrats are throwing a temper tantrum, demanding absolutely everything. So the shutdown is the Democrats' fault. Senator John Fetterman, a Pennsylvania Democrat, said he was open to expelling Robert Menendez from the Senate if he refused to resign over corruption charges. The Supreme Court has repeatedly narrowed the legal definition of corruption that may help Menendez. Again, Menendez is only being attacked because it's a proxy attack against Clarence Thomas. More on politics. As House Republicans' first impeachment hearings against Biden. It's not an impeachment hearing, it's an inquiry. There's a difference. So there Times is flat out lying. Their own witnesses said there was not enough evidence to support impeachment. That's a lie. What they're doing there is that's a mischaracterization of what they said. This is an impeachment inquiry, which they're going to subpoena things to get hard evidence. There's actually tons of evidence. And they're just, this is a great trick on the Times part. This is what Democrats have been doing. They look at evidence and then they say, there is no evidence, even though there's mountains of it. Ron DeSantis projected confidence of the Republican debate this week, but it may not convince voters that he's the best alternative to Trump. No, Ron is gone. China, the tech giant Huawei offered gifts to Greek officials as it sought European allies during a trade war with the U.S., a Times investigation found. Evergrande, a property company, suspended its stock and said its billionaire chairman was under investigation. It's because that's what happens in communism. Employment, a group of former applicants sued the Peace Corps, accusing it of discriminating against them because of their mental health histories. What? I mean, whatever. Resident advisors at the University of Pennsylvania voted to unionize, part of a swell of labor organizing among undergraduates. A judge said New York City regulators could raise minimum wage for workers who deliver food in platforms like Uber. The new minimum wage will start at $18 an hour. Prices just keep going up. And New York City has the biggest income gap of any large city in the country. And that's going to make the income gap go up even more. You force the bottom up, and that makes prices go up for everybody. Michael Gambon, whose long acting career reached a late peak with the role of Dumbledore in the Harry Potter films, died at 82. An explosion at a religious gathering in Pakistan killed at least 52 people and injured dozens more. Officials believe it was a suicide attack. Many in the U.S. nursing homes are still awaiting the latest corona vaccine. Florida created building codes to protect the touring industry from hurricanes. Instead, it is pricing tourists out. Randy C. Halton and Leslie Hendel spent decades urging the FDA to say cold medicines don't work. Regulators need to review other drugstore staples, they write. Which some do, some don't. And they turned out to lie about a lot of that. It's just one of those things where the FDA is a basically useless agency that, every once in a while they do something good, and then we just pretend that that's the only thing they ever did. Here, Collins by it's Trump's populism, the Trump fraud case, whatever. New York City and parking lots and empty schools. Newly arrived illegal immigrants are creating communities, breakaway enclaves within America. Travel delays, the month-long wait for short-term visas to Europe. Doctors still don't understand it, but they have a reliable way to management for corona fatigue. Yeah, it's because it's whatever. It's not a thing. Let's see. Here's the thing about Beyonce. Yeah. All right, might as well. Anything Beyonce does is a cultural event. No, it's not. But her Renaissance World Tour has become a cultural movement. People are crossing the globe to see her dressed en masse in silver and rhinestones. But by the tour's close, Beyonce will have generated an estimated $4.5 billion for the American economy, about as much as the 2008 Olympics did for Beijing. She's not even that good. Like, Kelly Rowland was way better. I don't understand why she became the popular one out of that trio, or however many were in that. I have no idea. All right, this day in history. On September 29th, 1938, British, French, German, and Italian leaders concluded the Munich Agreement, which was aimed at appeasing Adolf Hitler by allowing Nazi annexation of Czechoslovakia's Sudetenland. On this date, 1789, the U.S. War Department established a regular army with a strength of several hundred men. In 1829, London's reorganized police force, which became known as Scotland Yard, went on duty. In 1943, General Dwight D. Eisenhower and Italian Marshal Pietro Badoglio signed an armistice aboard the British ship HMS Nelson off Malta. In 1962, Canada joined the space age as it launched the Alouette 1 satellite from Vandenberg Air Force Base in California. In 1965, wait a minute. So the Canadians launched a satellite from our Air Force Base and called themselves Space? No, they're not. In 1965, President Lyndon Johnson signed the National Foundation on the Arts and the Humanities Act of 1965, creating the National Endowment for the Humanities and the National Endowment for the Arts. In 1978, Pope John Paul I was found dead at his Vatican apartment just over a month after becoming head of the Roman Catholic Church. In 1982, extra-strength Tylenol capsules laced with deadly cyanide claimed the first of 7 victims in the Chicago area. To date, the case remains unsolved. And that is the reason why we have tamper-evident seals on all medications. And it actually made things worse because those things are not that difficult to subvert. And because people think those tamper-evident seals protect them, you're more likely to take the drugs. And more people have actually died since. And those cases, yeah, I mean, that was 40 years ago, 41 years now, and chances are that won't ever be solved. 1986, the Soviet Union released Nicholas Danilov, an American journalist confined on spying charges. In 1989, actress Zsa Zsa Gabor was convicted of battery for slapping... Beverly Hills police officer... Oh, yeah, Paul Kramer after he'd pulled over her Rolls Royce for expired license plates. In 2000, Israeli riot police stormed a major Jerusalem shrine and opened fire on stone-throwing Muslim worshippers, killing 4 Palestinians and wounding 175. In 2005, John G. Roberts Jr. was sworn in as the nation's 17th Chief Justice after winning Senate confirmation. In 2012, Omar Khadr, the last Western detainee held at the U.S. military prison in Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, returned to Canada after a decade in custody. Man, there's still people in Gitmo. What? In 2017, Tom Price resigned as President Donald Trump's Secretary of Health and Human Services amid investigations into his use of costly charter flights for official travel at taxpayer expense. In 2018, Tesla and its CEO Elon Musk agreed to pay a total of $40 million to settle a government lawsuit alleging that Musk had dumped investors with misleading statements about a proposed buyout of the company. In 2020, the first debate between President Donald Trump and Democrat Joe Biden deteriorated into bitter taunts and near chaos as Trump repeatedly interrupted his opponent with angry and personal jabs, and the two men talked over each other. In 2021, a judge in Los Angeles suspended Britney Spears' father from the conservatorship that had controlled her life and money for 13 years, saying the argument reflected a toxic environment. In 2022, rescue crews piloted boats and waded through flooded streets Thursday to save thousands of Floridians trapped after Hurricane Ian destroyed homes and businesses and left millions in the dark. All right, that's it. Happy Friday.